What are your plans, if there are any, for rebuilding the youth program?
Well, we are doing it. And what we're doing is our whole philosophy for how we are serving our congregations has shifted to what Bishop Sam has intended for a long time and what's happening at the national level, too, with the new presiding Bishop, Sean Rowe. And that's to do what we can to support, primarily to support the work that's going on in the congregations. So you're going to start seeing, and your leaders will see, diocesan staff coming into the congregations and figuring out how to help and how to support it. And we'll also continue to do some youth events across the diocese. We're not going to do any overnight stuff again for a while, but we are going to, we're planning for an Acolyte Festival next fall. There was a plan for the spring. I don't know, we had a challenge in that, I don't know if you know Lisa Aycock, who is the diocesan leader for that. I'm sorry to tell you, her father died yesterday after a really terrible illness, and her mother is probably on the way. So that's put a little bit of crimp in our spring planning, but we plan to bring that up again and do at least 2 events every year that way, plus an Acolyte Festival. So there'll be some things around creation care, there'll be some things around just getting to know each other better, and there'll be some things around liturgy.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Next question.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. And just want to let you know I'm ushering next service, so when
Excellent.
I walk out, it's nothing you've said.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you for that.
My name is Martin Erickson. I'm on the vestry here.
Hi, Martin.
And received communication from the diocese about the Johnson Amendment and how we can speak to our values, but we don't speak to candidates.
Right.
And your sermon sort of tied into that, but perhaps others here would be interested in the diocesan direction.
So there's a lot of confusion in the world about separation of church and state. The Constitution provides that the government will not establish a religion. As you know, the American Revolution came out of England, and a country where you were Anglican unless you opted out. And the founders said, no, we're going to leave that up to the conscience of the people. It does not say that clergy cannot speak out and that Christians cannot speak out, and Muslims and Hindus and Jews and everybody else can't speak out on the basis of their faith, even as organized groups. What has happened is really an extension of that protection of the government from religion and religion from the government, and that particularly the tax code provides that, at least it's still on paper, that congregations cannot, from their worship service, endorse candidates in elections. It's all about elections and candidates. It's nothing about the values that we espouse or what we believe in or how we think the government ought to work. And as you may know, I don't know if anybody's actually done like a quantitative study, but qualitatively it's pretty obvious that most of that endorsing was not coming out of mainline congregations or the Episcopal Church ever. It was coming out from a different point of view. And so what this proposal from the government is to just completely get rid of that restriction at all, to enable anybody who wants to endorse a candidate to do that. And we maintain, you have maybe the legal right to do that, but that's not what and maybe you don't. I mean, it's one of the many, many, many things that hasn't been litigated yet to the end. But that it's not our part to tell people which candidate to vote for by name or which party to be a part of, but to lift up who we are and what we do as Christians. Does that help? So, yeah, there's a lot of confusion around those things, but hopefully that's a little clearer.
Other questions?
Yes.
Raise your hand.
Hey, it's
Hey.
Jay Boyer. It's not so much of a question. Well, maybe it is. But have you seen the movie Bad Faith? And if you have, any
I have
comments on
not
that?
yet seen it, no.
It's a powerful movie. You might want to look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah, I understand that it is. Bishop Sam has seen it, and his comment was that there was a lot that he agreed with, and that he was concerned that we not become who we are concerned about. That we take the high road. Yeah.
Other questions?
How many churches are members of the Diocese of North Carolina?
That's a really good question. It's a trick question. There are about 110, but there are a few things. There's some campus ministries. There are some historical churches that aren't worshiping together very often, but it's a little over 100. A little over 100. And that's, the diocese is from the western edge of Charlotte, the city, to Rocky Mount and kind of south of there. So it's the central part of the state. There's a different diocese in the west in the mountains and a different diocese on the coast.
Other questions?
Alice Baxter.
Alice?
What interaction do the three regions or dioceses of North Carolina have with each other?
Some, we do meet and talk together and work together on things of common interest. We did a lot of support of the Western Diocese after the flooding. Bishop Jose's been pretty preoccupied with that particular project, so we haven't done as many of the other collaborative things as we might otherwise. I think they're getting to be in pretty good shape, but there's still a lot of work to do. The Eastern Diocese, there's some just sort of congregational cooperation along the boundary line where we've had priests that serve on both sides from time to time. We've also supported the Episcopal Farm Workers Ministry, which is actually physically located in the Eastern Diocese. But that's about to change because the Eastern Diocese is ready to kind of take it on its own. There is now a congregation that has called La Sagrada Familia that's been around there for a long time, but they have really gotten on their feet. They've built a worship space. They have a priest that's been there for a while. And Bishop Skirving really wanted to take that back to more of a congregational supported ministry instead of what it had been. It kind of was falling apart in this when I got here, but more of a standalone nonprofit with lots of outside funding and lots of different projects. And they found, while that sounded really good, it was really difficult to manage and find the personnel and kind of keep things going. So East Carolina is going to continue with that ministry, which feeds farm workers and provides other kinds of supplies and stuff. And we are going to now multiply that ministry, not stop, but plan for about a year to figure out what we need to do within the boundaries of our own diocese for that population and similar populations. Most of the people working out there were Latino and Spanish speaking. North Carolina the Latino population in North Carolina is growing at 10 times the national rate of growth for that population. Most of it is, there are certainly farm workers and others in East Carolina, but by far the most of those people are in Durham and Charlotte. And in between, Siler City in the agricultural areas, meatpacking plants, construction, all the things that migrants, mostly from Mexico and Central America that come here, do. So we are looking to see what best would serve that population in the same spirit. And we'll continue to work. And so there are congregations that have individually supported farm workers, and we're encouraging them to, it's not a divorce, right? It's a multiplication. So we encourage people to continue to support it, but we'll be looking to set that up here as well.
Martin, again, a previous bishop mentioned that if you ever came across them at a rest stop laid out across a picnic table, they were just resting between congregations. So on an average month, how many congregations do you see?
Oh gosh, well, it depends on the month, but I would say 3 to 4 on Sundays, and then often in between as well. So I have served, I started my Episcopal ministry in the Diocese of West Texas, and then served for 3 years in Virginia, and then have been here now 3 years. And one day I thought, how many have I visited? And it's well over 300 at this point. So I'm doing my best to keep it straight. But it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see the variety. Back when I used to teach confirmation classes, I could tell them that the biggest lie we tell in the church is that we say, If you go in any Episcopal church anywhere in the world, it's going to be exactly the same. I've been to 320 and I haven't seen any two exactly the same. But we're all bound together by our Book of Common Prayer and our ethos and the way we are. So it's a beautiful variety. But yeah, I would say 3, 4, 5. I mean, I'm on the phone with a bunch of others too, but physically present about that many.
Alice Baxter again. So with Nancy leaving,
I know.
will your role change in our church?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you won't come more often, check on us or anything like
Well,
that?
if you need me, I will
checking.
come. The staff members from the office will be with you quite a bit. The transitions officers, the canon to the ordinary, they'll be here to help you navigate that transition. And we come out when we need to, or when we're wanted, but
'Cause
you will not
we're
be
all
abandoned.
We're all a little nervous.
I know. She's been here a while and has done a fabulous job.
Yep.
So, yeah. But she's grinning now a lot. I don't know what to make of that. I know it's bittersweet for everybody.
Other questions?
Hi, Brad Sekulich. We were talking about Hispanic ministries. What is the diocese doing linguistically to support non-English speakers?
Well, to support non-English speakers, a lot. Partly it's working on, we've got some good translators who work with us. We are in the process of developing a lot of formational materials. Thanks to a grant from the Godly Play Foundation, we just did training of 3 congregations, which was incredibly difficult, to tell you the truth, to get the Godly Play translators and organize it all and figure out how to do it remotely, which is kind of not a Godly Play thing. But as people are more and more worried about travel, we've had to kind of accommodate to that. So that's one piece of it. We're collecting liturgies of various kinds so that other people can get familiar with them. Particularly, as I said, in our Latino congregations, we have 3 that are separate, kind of full-bore, standalone Spanish-speaking congregations, and then a couple of others that are working with or part of Anglo congregations. So Franklin Morales, who I mentioned in my sermon, had to leave the country. He was doing a lot. He also just developed a great cultural competency course, which I am dogging him to get on video so that we can continue to share it. He did it with St. Luke's in Durham recently. And that's been a real blow to have him gone. He's in Canada now safely with a pretty perilous trip through Venezuela on the way. It was bad, but he's okay now. So we're working on how to do more and more of that. One of the things we haven't yet done, and I'm going to talk to a friend of mine in the Diocese of Texas to see how well it went for them. For a while, they were providing incentives for clergy to get Duolingo points, and then when you had a certain number, they would help send you for immersion Spanish. So we may be doing some of that. So just it's a constant thing. The other thing to know about that is that it's a generational issue. The senior generation, often who were the first to get here, don't necessarily speak a lot of English, may understand more than they feel confident speaking. But children are almost always able to speak English and bilingual, and kind of in between, it's a mix. So we work with that too.
Jay, again, this is actually 2 questions. One,
Sure.
in getting another rector, what is your role in that? And number 2, a lot of people don't know what the actual procedure is of getting a new rector.
Right. And you'll get a earful of that fairly soon. Our policy is that we don't start that process while the rector's still in place, because the rector's still in place. And then the transition officer will come and talk to the vestry about setting up a search committee. And the search committee will search, and I'm going to let them explain the process of how that works and make a recommendation to the vestry for who they recommend. And then it kind of varies from congregation to congregation how much individual engagement there is in all of that. The transition officers spend a lot of time looking around the country for good candidates and they have various ways of making the availability known. But they also spend some time in back channels just trying to chase people down. It can take a while. There are currently significantly more congregations looking for clergy than there are clergy looking for congregations. And so what I would say is be prepared to be a little bit patient and to live into who you are. You're one of the really, really competent lay leadership churches in the diocese. You're going to be fine. And if it takes a little time, it's much better to take the time. The worst thing you can do is panic and hire somebody who's not really who you want. You'll live with that for a long time. So if you go through around and you're thinking, it's just not singing for us, take the time and trust that you've been well formed, you know what you're doing, God will be present. I'm sure there will be plenty of arrangements for communion and all the things that you need technically a priest. I see several of them sitting around the room. Somebody's going to make sure that happens, and just trust in the process.
And Marion will be here on November 30th.
November 30th. That's the transition officer. She's really good. She's really good.
Mark Robinson, you mentioned campus ministries, and I have very fond memories of going to church when I was in college many, many years ago.
Good for you.
And I wonder if you could, I don't know where those are and how are they doing? Are they growing or staying the same, or just any information on campus ministry?
Well, that's an area I will confess Bishop Sam oversees that, and I have a lot less information about the details of it. We do have 6 of them at least of different configurations. Some of them are paired with congregations and have an Episcopal priest in charge. A number of them are ecumenical, and we may have part-time people there. So it really is tailored to the circumstances. As far as numbers and growth, I don't really know the answer. So I know they're still active. And I also know that the diocesan council is asked some of those questions too. It's a pretty significant part of our budget. We're currently spending over $500,000 a year on that ministry in the diocese. So we've got some very eager budget people these days, which is a good thing, who are sort of digging in and saying, okay, what's going on and what's the fruit? Are we investing in the right places? So I would imagine in the coming year, there'll be some pretty specific answers.
And this congregation supports Niner United.
Oh, great. Okay.
Which is the campus ministry. She mentioned an ecumenical ministry. That is a campus ministry at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and it is an ecumenical ministry with Lutheran, Presbyterian, Methodist.
Yeah, and those tend to get some good momentum because, there's critical mass.
So, Alice again, sorry for
Hi, Alice
hogging the
again.
mic, but, can you speak a little bit about how your duties are divided with Bishop Sam and
How
you
our
and-
duties are divided?
Yeah, like what's the difference, and is there a hierarchy? And
Yeah, I can't say a little bit about that. And we could revisit it Wednesday and Friday and see if it's changed. But Bishop Sam is the bishop diocesan. He is the ultimate authority in the diocese. I'm an assistant bishop. I was elected as suffragan bishop of West Texas, which is a bishop that has canonical standing, is active in the House of Bishops, and has basically life tenure like a diocesan bishop. I was then called to Virginia. I'm still waiting for God to completely explain all of that to me, but I was. And I became an assistant bishop who works under the authority of the bishop diocesan and whose tenure is actually tied to the bishop diocesan. So unless we stop getting along, which I can't imagine, we'll be here roughly the same amount of time, which is a ways off. And how those duties are divided are really up to each. There are very few of these, by the way. I should preface this by saying I think there are only about 6 bishops suffragan left in the United States. It's pretty rare in larger dioceses, maybe 7. More bishops assistant, but not a whole lot. And then you'll hear a third one, assisting bishop, which is a bishop that's just kind of part-time and helping out, usually, doing confirmations and maybe some specific jobs. So he and I both do visitations. We just divide them up in mostly kind of switch off, although the schedules sometimes mess that up. We all work with the staff. We all deal with crises that come up, because that's what comes to the office a lot of times. I have specific responsibility for overseeing formation, which is a real passion of mine. And you're going to see a lot of, I'll say something more about that in a second, Latino ministries and the formation of deacons. So those are the particular things that I oversee. But, on a day-to-day basis, there's all kinds of things. I was a lawyer before I was a priest, so, anytime there's a real estate deal, I'm not a lawyer anymore, and I say it every time they call, but I was educated in that field, so I can sometimes help with those things. So some of it just depends on what's happening. Bishop Sam, I did sell the office when Bishop Sam went on sabbatical 3 months after I got here, so he hasn't gone away
It was
from
with Bishop Sam's permission.
And thank God Nancy was the chairman of the standing committee at that point, and thank you. We talked a lot. It was good.
We did. Thank you so much, Bishop. I'm going to take her so she can get ready for the Requiem. And I know that if there are questions that you still have, you can email the bishop.
Yes, you can.
All the diocesan staff have email access. You just go to episdionc.org and click on the staff link.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good to be with you. All right.